Thank you for that thanks for that introduction. So I just want to tell you sort of about my Christian experience and how I got into the work, how I got to know God and how I got into the work. So what is?
所以我想在此和大家分享一下我个人是怎么认识上帝，然后我是怎么进入布道的这份工作。
I'm just trying to work out something. Can you all see the slides?
Yep.
You can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. All right. So, I sort of grew up in a Christian family. My mother was an SDA, but my father wasn't. So, like about 12 years old, I sort of went out of the church. And then, I did the things normal teenagers would do. And then when I was about 22, I came back into the church. So I found myself witnessing to someone outside. Oh, sorry. Yep.
那我小时候我妈是一个复灵信徒，可是我爸他反而不是。我当时12岁的时候开了教会一阵子，然后我在20岁的时候又重新加入了教会。
So about when I was about 22, I came back to the church. So when I was about 22, I came back to the church.
那我大概22岁的时候重新加入了教会。
And at that time, I made a commitment that I would do whatever the Lord wanted me to do. So and go wherever He wanted me to go.
那当时我22岁的时候，也是重新向上帝，更新了我对他的，忠心，然后同时我也把自己的生命交托于上帝。
Okay. And I think it's like Abraham. God led Abraham out of Ur of the Chaldees, not only to be removed for the environment, but also to teach some lessons. So I had many lessons that I had to learn in my Christian experience.
那就像上帝当时是怎么呼召亚伯拉罕，同时上帝也怎么呼召我。
Okay, and so I think one of aspect of that experience was to depend more on God rather than on man.
那我当时的其中一个学习的一点的是，我要多相信上帝，过于相信人。
So at the time when I actually came into the church, I really wanted to be an architect. That was my goal.
我当时在还没加入教堂的时候，我是想当一个
建筑师
研究师。
建筑师。Yeah, yeah, and so this is really what I wanted to do with my life.
那是我当时一直以来想做一位建筑师。
But then when I got into architectural college, but then when I was there, I felt God impressing me that He didn't want me to do that.
我当时还去了一所建筑学校，可是上帝就漠视了我，感动我，这不是他要我走的路。
So actually at that stage I'd only finished grade 12, so I didn't have anything else actually.
当时的我就刚从中学毕业，所以也没什么大计划。
Right, and then I withdrew from college, from architectural college, and actually I didn't know what I was going to do.
那我当时就没有再去这个建筑学校，同时也不知道该做些什么。
And so I just went back to work, normal work, just waiting to see what would happen.
那我就回去了以前的工作，看接下来是会怎么发生。
And I met some Japanese students.
然后我就遇见了一些日本学生，
And they said to me, why don't you go and be an English teacher in Japan?
那他们就问了我为啥不去日本当英语老师？
So, I didn't think anything much of that.
我也没多想了。
And then about a couple of weeks later, in the Record, there came an advertisement for English teacher in Japan.
然后几个月后，我就看见了一个广告，他们在日本想找一些英语老师。
So that's really strange, like I just meet these Japanese students and they suggest that I go teach English in Japan. And then there's an advertisement for a Japanese, not a Japanese, but an English teacher in the Record.
然后我就觉得这件事情特别的有趣，因为当时我是因为几个日本学生建议我在日本教英语，然后过了不久，结果有这个广告在找一个在日本教英语的老师。
And so I applied for that position.
然后我就申请了这个岗位。
And I was so sure that I was going to get it that I applied for the passport before I even got the acceptance.
然后我申请的时候，因为我对这个申请过程很有自信，我应该会得到这个工作，我就立刻申请了这个签证。
But then they said that there's no positions available.
可是他们回复了说，这个岗位已经有人升了。
And I thought that's a bit strange, like I thought I was so sure, I was so certain.
当时
I thought, oh, God's will be done.
我当时就觉得很奇怪，因为当时我是以为自己能得到这份工作，而且时间又那么短，可是我相信上帝有他的旨意。
Then a couple of weeks later, they contacted me, said that there's a position opened up in Japan.
然后几个星期后，他们又联系了我说，他们在日本刚好需要一个人。
So I ended up in Japan for 6 months. So from in 1992 June to 1993, I was in Japan.
然后我就从1992年6月一直到1993年，大概6个月的时间在日本。
So I was an English Bible teacher there.
我在那里当了一个英语圣经老师。
And then after that, then I went to Taiwan. So in 93, I was in Taiwan.
经过那次经验后，93年我就去了台湾。
And before I went over to Japan or Taiwan, I'd never been interested in Asian languages. I'd never thought about studying them.
在我还没去日本或台湾之前，我从来对亚洲语言没有兴趣，也没想过要。
But after I went to Japan and then into Taiwan, then I got very interested in Chinese language and then the Japanese and the Chinese languages.
那经过去了台湾、日本这经验之后，我就开始对日语和华语有兴趣。
So it's in Taiwan that I met my wife, Fanny, Shu Zhaofan.
在台湾就认识了我的太太舒兆帆。
So she was in Kaohsiung at the time.
她当时在高雄。
Yeah. And so at that time, she was working in a clinic as a nurse.
当时的她在一个诊疗所当护士。
And then in the process of the time when I was in Taiwan to 93 to 94, so about a year.
那我在台湾从93到94年。
再还注意。
And then Zhaofan, she started become interested in the medical missionary work.
接下来呢，我的太太焦芬，她对医药布道感兴趣。
Yeah, so she left her job.
她就离职了。
Right, and she started. I think she went to Annan to do some work over there.
然后离职后他就去了爱能，花了点时
And
间。
she did a lot of work in also China too, doing medical missionary work.
他也是有在中国做了一些医药布道。
Yeah. And then I continued to stay in Taiwan until the end of 94.
那我就继续待在台湾，一直到1994年。
And then I went to Hong Kong for 1 year. So I lived in Hong Kong in our college there, Samyuk over there.
那我之后就移到香港，我们这个富林大学。
And at that stage, I think Fanny, she went to America to do some more medical missionary training with Thomas Jackson.
那同时我的太太也去了美国，做了一个医药布道的培训，而且他那个老师叫 Thomas Jackson。
Yeah. So at that stage, she wanted me to go there, but I wasn't ready to get into this kind of medical work. So
那当时他是很想要我跟他一起去美国，可是我当时并不觉得我自己为这个医药布道有所准备。
So I was more like thinking about the English teaching in Asia. That's what I was going to do.
当时的我还是计划着想继续当英语老师。
And then I ended up going back to Australia to finish up linguistics. So I was in 1996 to 1999 doing linguistics, so Chinese, Japanese language.
那我在1996到1999年的时候，去了澳洲，读这个语言，包括中文和日文。
Yeah, and then at that time, I started to learn some things like massage, some hydrotherapy, that kind of thing.
然后在这个澳洲，同时我也学习了一些有关按摩和水疗。
Yeah, so at the end of 1999.
中文叫什么？
So at the end of 1999, that's when I went back to Taiwan. We went back to Taiwan.
1999年之后，我们又搬回台湾去了。
In Taiwan, we started visiting people in their homes and doing simple treatments with them and helping them out in their home.
那在台湾的时候，我们就去探望了不同的人，然后在家里给他们看怎么做这种什么自然疗法。
Yeah, 自然疗法, yeah. But we felt that it wasn't really working because of the environment, you know, like their relatives would give them things that weren't too good for them.
可是当时我们觉得这个方法好像不太有效，因为他们这些人的亲戚都会有时会给他们一些对他们健康不是很好的用品。
So this is where we started. We went into the country and we started off a home sanitarium. So this is some of the pictures from that experience. So can you see in the middle here the house there?
To go into your next. You
see 那个老房子在这个里面。
然后我们就搬到了一个小乡村，开始了一个健康中心。然后这里有一个图片。
Yeah. So you see, this is actually the house that we were working from.
Sorry, Brother Tony, you need to click on the slide because we can't see. As it's not a slide not moving. Thank you.
Oh, you can't see, huh?
You might be sharing the other screen instead if you have multiple screens.
Oh.
No, it's okay. You just click on the slide 2 or slide 3 that you want when you present.
So can you see it?
You need to click on 2. Can you click on the 2, slide 2?
Yeah, I did. I think what's the problem here?
You might have to share the screen instead of just the application.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So you see the little house there?
那你能看见这个小房吗？
So this house is a very simple house. You know, like it was an old. You could say it's about 50 years old. It had the wooden door and the bolt latch on it.
那其实这个房是还挺老的，应该有50年的历史了，而且它的那个门还是用木做的。
Yeah. So we went in and then we made it as respectable as we could, and then we started doing health programs. So health programs in that house.
那我们就稍微的装修一下，然后我们就用这个房子做我们的健康中心。
Yeah. And so our health program was 21 days.
那我们这个健康这个计划是21天。
Yeah. And every day we would do Bible studies with the people in the morning.
那这个健康计划每天早上我们都会和我们这些来宾们一起研究圣经。
Yep. And then we would do some consults with them and work out what kind of treatments we would help them with.
那我们同时也会替他们咨询诊疗，然后看我们有什么疗法能够帮助他们。
And then, we prepare meals for them and that kind of thing.
同时也为了他们做饭。
And so even though this was such a simple house, the result was quite amazing. So, this is really why I got into the medical work. I could see that this medical work got such power.
那这就是我加入医药布道的原因，因为从这个简陋的房，我们能够做出这么大的影响。
So like Ellen White says, it's entering wedge, and then coupled with the Holy Spirit, you could see the impact that it had.
那像华爱伦说的，这个医药布道是一个能够让我们向外人做布道的一种方法。
Yeah. So you see this lady getting baptized here?
那你从这个照片能看出有一个女士在受洗。
Yeah. So that was our first guest, the first one.
我们第一个贵宾。
Yep. And then she had cancer. She gave her heart to the Lord, and she got baptized.
当时她得了癌症，然后他们来我们这个医药健康中心的时候，她就献身于上帝，接受主了。
And then we had another young lady up the top here on the top left-hand side. She had also terminal cancer. She was a Catholic, so she gave her heart to the Lord also.
那左上角的这个图片也是另一个女士，她也是得了癌症，然后她之前是信天主教的，然后她也向上帝承诺献身给上帝了。
Yeah, and then on the top right-hand side, this group of ladies, about two of those ladies were baptized also.
然后在这个上面的照片也是有4个女士，其中2个也是接受受洗了。
And then we have another lady here. She also had terminal cancer. So she was actually baptized in the bathtub. So because she couldn't do the normal baptism. So you see that's down the bottom there.
然后我们在这个下面的这张照片里，这个女士也是因为得了癌症，然后接受受洗，可是因为她的病情，我们只能在浴缸里替她受洗。
And down in the right-hand corner, we say this lady, she was baptized in the swimming pool, in a swimming pool near where we were.
然后右下角的这张照片，这个女士也是我们替她在这个附近的泳池里受洗。
Yeah. So this was all self-supporting. We supported the work by what the guests gave us. It wasn't a lot, but God really blessed the program.
那我们这个健康中心是我们以自己的所以这个健康中心所来的金钱都是我们这些来宾们给予我们的。
Yeah, so it was from that point that I decided that I would get into the medical work, the medical missionary work.
那我从那次经验之后就决定了要投入这个医药布道。
Yeah, and then we did that till 2005, from 2000 to 2005.
那从2000到2005年，我们就从事医药布道。
Yeah, and then in the breaks between our actual programs, we went out and we did evangelistic programs for the church.
那在这个健康计划之间，我们有一些时间也替一些教会做了一些布道计划。
And we went to the Philippines and we went also China, doing the same sort of thing.
我们在菲律宾和中国大陆也做了同样的事。
Yeah, so it was very good. So, and then from 2000, I think 2005 to 9, we worked at Living Valley Springs, which was another health retreat in Australia.
从2005到2009的时候，我们在澳洲的一个健康中心侍奉。
And then in 2009 to 10, we went to Japan for 6 months. So that's where we caught up with Mark again.
从09到10年的时候，我们又回到了日本，当时我们就和 Max 重新相逢了。
Yeah, and then back to Australia from 2010 to 2015.
从10到15年，我们又回到了澳洲。
Yeah, so as I went along, I was learning as I was going. So I was learning about the medical work. I was doing correspondence studies, that kind of thing. So it was quite busy for us.
那经过这些时间，我不断的在对这个医药布道学习了不少，而且从这些年得到了很多的经验。
So in the time I was in Taiwan, then I did a correspondence course of natural health, natural medicine.
那我在台湾的时候，也做了一些在医药上的通过性的一些医药对应。
Yeah, and then when I was working at Living Valley Springs, I did some health science studies.
那我在澳洲的时候，我也对一些健康生活做了一些研究。
And then from 2010 to 15, I did some nursing studies and then sort of like focusing on oncology.
那在10年到15年的时候，我也做了这个在当护士这个做了肿瘤学。
Yeah, and we just saw that from this work, and I think worldwide oncology cancer is a big problem.
那我们也知道，在这世上，癌症是一个很大的问题。
But every cancer patient is really an opportunity to share the gospel with them. So we saw that when we were working in Taiwan, that maybe this was the only chance they got to hear the gospel message.
那我学到在台湾的时候，每个癌症病患者是一个 分享圣经的一个机会，而且对有些人可能这是他们唯一一次能听见上帝的机会。
Yeah. So in 2015, we went back to Taiwan to set up a health center there.
那15年的时候，我们又回到了台湾，创造了一个健康中心。
Okay, and this is the place that it was in Taiwan here.
这就是我们在台湾的健康中心。
This is before we did renovation, so we went out and then we actually helped to do it up, this place.
那这是我们装修之前长的这个样子的房子。
Okay, and then there was a shed, so we turned that shed into a house.
那我们在这个房子的右边有一个小储存室，我们也把它装修成一个能住人的房子了。
Right, and so this is where we met Landishong. I think Mark, we met Landishong here.
那我当时在这里也是认识的蓝弟兄。
Right, and since at that time we've been helping him, contacting him. Unfortunately, he passed away.
自从那一次，我们就不断的给这个弟兄帮助和支持，可是很不幸的，他已经去世了。
Okay, so this is just my family. So that's my wife Fanny and my 2 children at that time.
那这是我的家人的照片，在左手边是我的太太，然后那2个孩子是我当时的孩子。
And this lady with the pink scarf is one of our guests.
那这个穿着粉红色，这个粉红色的这个围巾，对，是我们其中一个来宾。
Yeah. And then this is the consult room that we had to consult with the guests.
那这是我们的咨询室。
So we helped to do that. We helped to build that.
那我们也是装修的时候也做了这个。
This is part of the consult room.
那这是我们也是咨询室的一部分。
This is just the hallway going down to the treatment room. So this was the hydrotherapy room where we did the cold sheet packs and things like that.
刚才是一个走廊，然后这是我们做水疗的房间。
That's a sauna. That was a sauna.
然后这一个照片是我们的桑拿。
Okay, just a shower.
这是我们的沐浴间。
And so this was the kitchen where we did all the preparing the meals and everything.
然后我们就在这个厨房做食物准备。
And the massage rooms.
然后这就是我们的按摩房。
And then that's where we had the Bible studies with the guests there.
然后这里是我们和那些来宾一起做圣经研究的地方。
And there's the dining table here.
然后这就是我们吃饭的房。
Okay, so that was in up till 2017. So 2017 I came back and I got into the research area for cancer.
那这是一直到2017年，我就回到做我这个肿瘤学研究。
And then I went from a clinical research coordinator to a clinical research associate.
那我从一个肿瘤学怎么说
？Clinical research associate is just 就是协助那个研究。就可以这样子说。
我就从了一个协调员变了一个助理。
Yeah, and then in that company I met another Chinese lady that we were able to help. So we were able to do some Bible studies with her also.
我当时也遇到了一个女士，也有机会和她一起研究圣经。
Yeah, so really it really doesn't matter where we are. We can outreach to people, that are in close contact with us.
那其实我从这里能学到的，不管我们在哪里，只要是我们能够接触的人，我们就有机会和他们分享。
So I think the key to reaching people is time and just showing them that we care for them. So this is really the 医药布道 kind of principle.
那我在做这个医药布道学习到的2大原则，我们要接触人，我们所需要的就是时间，和我们需要让人知道我们是关心他们的。
Yeah. So for example, the lady that I helped when I was doing in the Yanzhou Gongci, she needed help, so we helped her. So we were able to start sharing with her that way.
那我之前有个女士，因为她需要帮忙，而且我们当时也帮助了她，所以就有机会和她分享。
Yeah. Okay. So, and then presently at the present time, what I'm doing is in a market, in a shichang, like a market, sharing the great controversy with people.
那我目前在这个菜市场，正和那里的人分享这个善恶之争。
Yeah, and then it's going very well. So every time we're giving roughly between 10 to 30 great controversies away.
而且我们目前的很有效，因为我们每次去的时候都能够把20到30本的善恶之争分发出去。
Yeah, and there's a good reason for this.
然后这个能有那么有效是有原因的。
And that's because of the time in which we live. We're living in the time that in the great controversy, there's a chapter called Liberty of Conscience Threatened. We can introduce a great controversy using that chapter.
那这个原因是因为我们目前活在这个世上是有这个良心自由的问题，我们能够在善恶之争的其中一章和大家和其他人分享。
Yeah, so that's really where what I'm doing at the moment. So and then also, promoting creation science, the evidence behind creation.
那同时我也和那里的人分享关于这个创造论，还有这个创造论的是为什么那么重要。
Yeah, okay. So I'll quickly move through this next section, but this next section really is dealing with the time in which we're living, because we are living in a time where everything is so uncertain.
那接下来我想和大家分享的就是我们现在活着的时候是多么的不肯定。
Yeah, so there's a few things that we have to learn in this from the time that we're living in.
那我们活在这个世上有一些功课必须学的。
Okay, and that God can be trusted to provide for us.
那第一点就是我们可以相信上帝必供应给我们。
The dependence on man is always disappointing.
第二点是依靠人总是会令人失望。
Okay, and faith and trust is built up in increments, which means that we must learn faith and trust by the lessons and the trials that God gives us in our daily life.
那第三点是信心和信靠是逐步建立起来的。换句话说，我们的信心信靠是通过生活上的考验而建立的。
Like if we see the current situation, the current governments are trying to make us dependent on them. This is their goal, compliance and dependence.
那目前我们能够看到有些政府呢， 他们想让自己的人民对他们有依靠和必须遵守规则。
Right, so it's opposite to really what God wants us to learn. He wants us to trust and have faith in Him.
那这是跟上帝要给我们的功课完全相反，因为上帝要我们信靠他。
Yeah. So remember the final movements that will require faith and trust that we probably haven't experienced before.
那我们这个末世的经验会牵涉到我们这个从来没有经历过的信靠和信心。
Right. So if we want to have a look at Israel, from Israel's experience, they had a few things we can learn.
那我们从以色列人能够学习几个教训。
When they started trusting on the nations around them, like Egypt, like Philistines, like all those other nations, Assyria, they always started to cave in. They started to compromise. They started to backslide, that kind of thing.
那我们从以色列人的经验能够看出，他们当时有曾经依赖过埃及或者西利亚，然后因为这些依赖让他们开始了有妥协。
And the more they depended on these countries, the more they were puppets, the more that they were under their control, the less power they had.
那他们当时越依赖这些其他国家，我们能够看到他们是慢慢的被这些其他国家而控制。
So if we have a look at the lessons that Jesus taught us in the wilderness.
那我们在耶稣在旷野的时候也有给到一个教训。
Now he's actually instructing us that we live by God's word. We trust in Him. God will provide, and this is really what He wants us to learn. That God will provide for our needs.
那当时耶稣给我们的教训是，上帝会供应我们一切所需要的，而且我们不应该只单靠食物。
And then even when we have a look at the Garden of Gethsemane, we see Jesus giving His will over to the Father. So, He's basically saying, let thy will be done.
那我们从哥西马尼园的时候，我们也看出耶稣的榜样。当他在向上帝祷告的时候，他还说了不要照他的意思，只照他天父的意思。
So the lesson is that we don't, our main goal is to follow the will of God, not the will of man.
我们从这里能看出，我们的活在这世上的目的是要活出上帝，而不是人的旨意。
I want to go back here to this one here. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're familiar with some of this history, but I put this history here just to teach us some lessons.
那接下来我就跟大家上一个小历史课，给大家从这个故事里学习一些教训。
Okay, so the Versailles Treaty really was the treaty between Germany and the Allies.
那这在法国的一个叫《卫塞尔条约》，是当时的德国和这个盟军的一个条约。
Non-aggression pact. So they really, Germany promised not to arm and not to, start another war. Really, that's really what it was about.
那这个条约里面主要是德国就承诺不要再产生另一个战争。
Well, they broke that. They broke that obviously because the Second World War came about.
那这个卫塞尔条约是因为第一世界大战的之后才签的，可是很明显的，德国就没有遵守这个条约，因为我们之后有了第二世界大战。
Okay, and then in the midst of the Second World War, Germany made a pact with Russia, a non-aggression pact, that they wouldn't attack each other for 10 years.
那在二战的时候，俄罗斯，当时的苏联和德国也签了一个互不侵犯条约，也就是在10年内，两方都不会攻对方。
But obviously, Hitler broke that one too. He didn't obey. He didn't keep his promise there either.
那我们也知道，当时希特勒也没遵守这个条约，因为他就侵犯了苏联。
Okay, so after the war, there was many Germans that were taken to trial.
那二战后，很多这些德国军师都被告上法庭了。
And they were taken to trial because they were doing experiments on Jewish people or other people against their will.
那他们被控告上法庭，因为他们当时在犹太人或者其他人身上做了不少的人体实验。
And it wasn't for their best interest.
然后这些实验呢，都对这些犹太人啊，或者其他种族人，都是对他们没有利益的。
Okay, so after these trials, they set up some principles for ethical research.
那经过了这些审判呢，经过这些研究，他们就设立了一些做这个实验的原则。
Okay, so one principle was that you must have full consent of a person before you can do any research on them or deliver any health treatment.
那其中一个原则是，当我们做任何的那个健康医疗之前，我们必须得到病患者的同意。
Okay. The second principle was that it must be for the good of the person.
那第二点就是这个医疗必须对病患者带来好处。
And that's the individual person. That's not the group. That's the individual person.
而且这是那个病患者自己本身的好处的利益。
Okay. And then another principle was that if they choose not to participate, there's no repercussions. There's no penalty. There's nothing.
这个第三个原则是，要是病患者自己选择不要参与这个研究，他们必须能够做出这个决定，而不受任何的审判。
Now, just remember that at the Nuremberg trial, there were many doctors and nurses that were put on trial for actually violating these principles.
那在这个纽伦堡法典的时候，有很多这些医生护士就没有跟这些原则。
So what we see happening in the world today is a violation of these principles.
那我们在这世上能看出很多这些原则都被违反了。
For example, we talk about the vaccination, or we talk about that the mRNA dosing, okay, to people.
那这就像我们这个打注射疫苗的时候，包括用这个核糖核酸的疫苗。
Okay, it's forced. You must have it.
那这个疫苗呢，是有些被强迫接受这个疫苗。
If you don't have it, you'll lose your job.
有些情况就有些人要是不接受疫苗的话，他们就会失去工作。
You can't go out in Austria.
在奥地利，你不接受疫苗，你是不能出去的。
You know, you can't go to uni. In Australia, they're starting up. You can't go to uni without it.
在澳洲，你不接受疫苗，你是不能上大学的。
So can you see what's happening? We're starting to move towards where the governments want us to be completely dependent on them. So, yeah, go ahead.
那我们从这几个例子能看到，我们 这个世界上的政府是怎么需要让他们的人民依赖他们。
And with regard to this, the vaccine efficacy is not proven.
然后目前为止，这个疫苗的有效性是还没有完全被证明的。
There's many side effects and there are deaths also from the vaccine.
那从这个疫苗，我们也是能够看到一些副作用，甚至一些
So it's unethical for them to be mandating this actual vaccine.
那我们从这个勉强给人打疫苗的事件是能看得出这是不道德的。
Yeah. But you know what? It's a good thing, you know, for us as Adventists.
对我们福音信徒来说，这是件好事。
Because we can see that the end is coming and how it will come.
因为我们从这里能够看出，这个世界的末了是怎么发生的。
Because we know that in the end we won't be able to buy, we won't be able to sell. We know that.
因为我们知道末世的时候，我们是不能做买卖的。
And that includes a whole range of activities. We can't take the plane, we can't go to school, we can't go to uni, we can't go this, we can't go that. So within that buy and sell, there's a whole range of things that we won't be able to do.
那这个所谓的不能做买卖里面，包括很多事项，包括不能坐飞机、不能上学、不能去大学，就各种各样的约束。
Yeah. So this is why, you know, we need to be, from this learning, we need to trust more on God and we need to trust less on the world, the governments and man.
那从这里我们学习，我们必须更依赖上帝，而不是依靠政府或者其他人。
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, in this particular, you know, slide here, you know, it's got that. You know, here's the patience of the saints, and here are they that keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus. We must have that faith of Jesus.
那我们在启示录14章12节，这里说圣徒的忍耐就在此，他们是守神诫命和耶稣真道的。我们必须继续坚守耶稣真道。
Yeah. And so, you know, we know that we need to be trusting in, there's a vanity in trusting in other things rather than God, you know.
那我们知道，除了相信上帝之外，相信其他事物是虚荣的。
So, for example, trusting in my bank account.
那打个比方，就对我的银行账户有这个信靠。
Education.
或者对我的教育有信靠。
Possessions.
对我自己拥有的物质品有信靠。
So I'm not saying that we don't have these things, but you know, if we put our complete trust in them, they can be taken from us by the government at any time they want.
那我说的这些，我们这些政府随时能够把这些事从我们身上剥夺去。
So just like this verse says, it's whose hope shall be cut off, and whose trust shall be a spider's web.
那在约伯记8章14节，这里写着：他所仰赖的必折断，他所依靠的是蜘蛛网。
You know, the governments of this world, they try to get us into a spider web that we can't get out of, you know, like a trap.
那我们这些世上的政府呢，就好比这个，把我们放到一个蜘蛛网里面，把我们陷在里面，让我们逃不出去。
We have to be so careful about this.
那我们对这些事情必须非常的谨慎。
Ellen White says that step by step, as we become more and more accustomed to the world, it's only one step over, you know, to total surrender, you know, to what the world believes. So it's just in increments, you know, like faith is built up in increments. and also the dependency on the government is built up in increments.
那华爱伦也写着，这个就像信心是逐步一步一步来的，那这个政府呢，想我们对他们的依靠也是一步一步的建立起来。
You know, for example, we say 2 vaccines. 2 vaccines is fine.
打比方说，我们打2次疫苗就够了。
Then boosters, then another booster.
然后我们打了2次疫苗的时候，可能他们又会再说，哦，那我们可以打第3次或者第4次。
Yeah, so it continues on, and if you don't keep up with the program, then it's like you haven't done it.
那就这些疫苗就一个接着一个的来，要是你是跟不上的话，他们就把你当成是你是没有完成这个要求。
Yeah. So Ellen White makes this statement.
那华爱伦也做了这一个写了这一句话。
The last great conflict of the controversy with Satan, those who are loyal to God will see every earthly support cut off because they refuse to break his law in obedience to earthly powers. They will be forbidden to buy or sell.
那在历代愿望这里写着，在与撒旦的最后一次斗争中，凡是忠于上帝的人，必将发现每一属世的依靠都断绝了，因为他们拒绝违背上帝的律法，去顺从属世的权柄，他们就不得做买卖。
That's a big thing, you know, like this statement, you know, that's every earthly support.
那这是一个很大影响的一句话，因为他说了每一个属世的依靠都断绝了。
That means work, medical care, education, everything.
那这包括所有的，包括工作、医疗或者教育，所有的事。
So we need to be starting to learn, you know, to depend on God more.
那我们应该开始更依靠上帝。
And Ellen White, she talks about this, that, you know, we will need a faith that can withstand a lot of different pressures.
华爱伦在他的写注里也说了，我们末世需要一个能够承受一切事情的一个信心。
Okay, so he writes here that seasons of distress and anguish before us will require faith that can endure weariness, delay, and hunger. A faith that will not faint through those severely tried.
在末世大事，华爱伦写了，我们需要一种能忍受疲劳、迟延和饥饿的信心，来应付那即将临到我们的忧患和痛苦的时期。这种信心纵然经受最惨重的试炼，也不至于衰退。
Okay, so the time of trouble such as never was is soon to open upon us, and we shall need an experience which we do not now possess, and which many are too indolent to obtain. It is often the case that trouble is greater in anticipation than in reality, but this is not true with the crisis before us. The most vivid presentation cannot reach the magnitude of the ordeal.
在夏日之争，这里写着：从有国以来，直到此时，所没有过的大艰难，很快就要在我们面前展开了。所以，我们需要一种我们现今还没有，而许多人懒于寻求的经验。世间往往有一些艰难，实际上并不像所预料的那么严重，但这一个摆在我们面前的危机却不是这样。最生动的言语也不足以形容这一次的大考验于万一。
And remember, when she wrote this, this was in her time, you know, like the amount of technology that we have now, the amount of tracking technology, the apps, the satellites, all sorts of stuff now that we can know that this time is going to be a big ordeal.
那我们知道，华爱伦写的这个是他当时的时候。那从华爱伦的时期到现在，我们已经在科技上有很大的发达，包括所有的跟踪器啊，所以我们真的这个我们现在的考验会是更大的。
Because I can recognize your face now, like if you walk into a service station, they're starting to bring out this facial recognition systems.
那就像我随便去一个餐馆之类的，我们目前已经有了这些面部识别的科技。
And there's going to come a time in history, it could be in our lifetime, that we will have to walk away from everything that we have found safety in.
那这很有可能在我们这一辈发生，也就是我们唯一能够寻找安全的方法，也就是放弃一切。
So Ellen White says that we should be praying, what we should do regularly, moving forward and following God's will with regard to our possessions, our houses, all that kind of thing.
华爱伦也写了，我们在这个末世的时候，对于我们的物质产品啊，我们都必须天天向上帝祷告。
And then, this the Sunday law, we all know about it, but when it's issued, the whole world will be in on it. So, I do think that what we're experiencing at this present time is related to it. All the processes are being set up for these final events.
那我们也知道，这个星期日律法，也不远了，因为当他们宣布这个星期日律法的时候，我们所有人都会被勉强、被逼迫跟从。
And this is just what she says here. She says, as the decree, this is not in Chinese, so probably just translated over. So as the decree is issued by the various rulers of Christendom against the commandment keepers.
那在这个三二之争这里说到，当这个宣告，由在基督界里面所有各种领袖，Actually, you go ahead. I'll search it in the meantime.
Okay, yeah. Okay, shall withdraw the protection of the government and abandon them to those who desire their destruction. The people of God will flee from the cities and villages and associate together to companies dwelling in the most desolate and solitary places. Many will find refuge in the strongholds of the mountains, but many of all nations and of all classes, high and low, rich and poor, black and white, will be cast into the most unjust and cruel bondage. The beloved of God will pass weary days bound in chains, shut in prisons, bars, and sentenced to be slain, some apparently left to die of starvation in dark and loathsome dungeons. That's from the Great Controversy.
那在这个萨尔之争，我们能够看到，在这个末世的时候，即将会有一个宣告，然后这宣告会勉强所有遵守上帝律法的人，把政府所给予他们的保护都取消掉，然后这些上帝的子民会逃离各种城市和乡村，然后住在一起，然后他们会搬到一些比较偏僻的地方去住，有许多人会去这些山上寻找庇护所，可是在这些很多国家各种人民里面，不管是富裕的或者贫穷的，黑的或者白的，会逼迫这些基督徒，而且上帝的子民会因为这些逼迫而经历了不少的痛苦，不管是坐牢的 或者被杀的。
Yeah, okay. So you know that we know from the Bible that we are saved by faith through grace.
那我们从圣经知道我们是靠着信心，靠着上帝的恩典而得救的，
And it's not of ourselves.
而不是我们自己的功劳。
So that's why we need to learn dependence on God, because actually our righteousness is dependent on our dependence on God.
那我们必须不断的依靠上帝，因为我们的义是来自上帝的恩典。
The more we depend on Him, His grace, His protection, His care, the greater we'll be, the closer we will be to Him, and we'll be able to finish the work on this earth.
我们越能够依靠上帝，我们就能够更快的完全我们在这世上的使命。
And these are just some texts that can encourage us.
那我们在这里找到一些能鼓励我们的圣经章节。
So when thou criest, let thy companies deliver thee, but the wind shall carry them all away. Vanity shall take them, but he that putteth his trust in me shall possess the land and shall inherit my holy mountain.
在以赛亚57章13节，你哀求的时候，让你所聚集的拯救你吧。风要把他们刮散，一口气要把他们都吹去。但那投靠我的必得地土，必承受我的圣山为业。
Okay, so some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God.
诗篇20章7节，有人靠车，有人靠马，但我们要提到耶和华我们神的名。
And as for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is tried. He is a buckler to all them that trust in him.
在诗篇22章31节，他们必来把他的公义传给将要生的民，也明这事是他所行的。
So this is a presentation for tonight.
那这是我向大家的分享。
This is the place. This is the sunset from the place that we were running over in Taiwan. So this is just at sunset.
那这照片里是我们当时在台湾里面的